That's what Klopp said normally. He underplays the squad. Just like, oh, we've got a bit of injuries. We haven't got enough depth in. Oh, it's raining. Oh, it's a Saturday, early Saturday. I couldn't get out of bed. That's what he normally says. That's what I'm talking about, Callum. You got the same mentality.
I mean, he didn't make any excuses at the 7-0 win against Palace at Selhurst Park.
Oh, here we go. I don't think top 10 is going to be a trouble for you guys. I really do. And I really do think that. And you might be saying,
look at the confidence after beating Spurs. And he's like,
who do you guys think are going to be relegated?
Crystal Palace.
Hello and welcome to Fan Zone, the Premier League talk show for the fans, by the fans. And today we are delighted to be joined by Dee from Back of the Nest, Tom from Gooner Talk, and myself, Callum from Kopish. Delighted that you're watching this. Thank you very much for joining us. With Everton's win on Monday night, lifting them into the top four, do you think they're better placed this season under Rafa Benitez than they were under Carlo Ancelotti, despite maybe not playing as attractive football?
I mean, I'll jump in and say I think it's still very, very early. I think I remember this time last year when Carlo Ancelotti was in charge and Everton were doing exceptionally well. So I think there were kind of shouts at that period of, are Everton top four candidates? And obviously I think they finished 10th in the end last season. So it's still very, very early. And I mean, they've gone from an experienced coach in Ancelotti to another very experienced coach in Benitez. So it's kind of that continuation, I suppose, for them in the sense that they've not really had to step down to say an inexperienced coach. And I'm speaking from plenty of experience in that field. I know what it's like to have an inexperienced coach at the helm. But I think Rafa's really kind of, he's garnered that respect from players like Richarlison, who when they saw Ancelotti leaving, there was a bit of kind of, apprehension about that. And so therefore seeing another really experienced, won plenty of trophies kind of manager in Benitez come in, I think that's maybe steadied the ship as more than it maybe would have done if they'd have gone for a more left field pick.
I think the only thing that's wrong with the Benitez appointment is the fact that he was over with you guys, what he done with Liverpool, and he's going over to the other side, just crossing the town. So I think that's the only wrong thing about it. But when it comes to looking at both managers, as Tom said, they're both big names. And the difference that Rafa Benitez has over Ancelotti is that he has the experience in the Premier League. And the Benitez football ain't going to be that exciting. But I think if you're an Everton fan at this point, with all the managers that they've tried with, Silva, they had the Ancelotti, they've had all types of managers, exciting managers, boring managers. But I feel like with Benitez, what he will do for them is get them results, even when they're playing bad. As we saw yesterday, in the game against Burnley, where in the first half they were struggling massively, but at the end of it, they still managed to get a result. So there'll be lots of ups and downs. But I think as an Everton fan, if Benitez can get you results, which I think he can do, and he has a Premier League experience, then that's all that matters. And I feel like he might be a bit more successful than Ancelotti because of what he done in the past.
Fair enough. I mean, obviously, I've got to speak about Everton now, which is always fun for me. So if I'm going to speak objectively about it, I actually think Rafa Benitez is a fantastic manager. I think he's the best manager that Everton could have got. I'm surprised none of the other big teams, especially Arsenal, didn't try and go in for him. I know his style of football may sort of not be seen as being too attractive, but I actually do think that's a bit harsh of a criticism as well, because you look at when he was at Liverpool, when he had the team that he wanted, I think we played really good football. And then since then, he's never really settled at a club. And even when he settled at Newcastle, he never really had the players at his disposal to really go and play that attractive brand of football. Under Everton, they've got some exciting players like Damari Gray, for example, who I think he'll get the best out of those sort of players. So I do think they will play a really good brand of football. I think they'll be defensively a lot better than they were last season. But I don't see them being able to break into Europe this season. I think give Benitez this season and maybe another summer, then we may start to see Everton really make strides forward. But I'm a Liverpool fan, so as long as they're not above us, then I don't really care.
So going into the next question, Cristiano Ronaldo, he's back in the Premier League. He played at Old Trafford on Saturday. Does the Portuguese forwards make United genuine title contenders?
100%.
Go on.
Yeah, I mean, again, you've asked me an Everton question. That's a Man United question. I feel like I've been set up here. But no, I mean, Man United have done, or should I say, the Man United fans have done a really great job of downplaying the team and the expectations. When you look at who they've acquired in the summer, if Chelsea, Liverpool, or Man City had bought Varane, Sancho, and Cristiano Ronaldo over the summer, they'd automatically have been made favourites for the league. Now, again, the old saying goes, Ollie tax, for example, the fact that they didn't sign that quote unquote defensive midfielder. But there's not one team in the Premier League that has an absolutely complete squad. You look at Manchester City, they're lacking a killer striker, in my opinion. You look at Chelsea, I think they may be lacking another centre-back, maybe another wide forward as well. You look at Arsenal, they're lacking a few players.
Everything. Oh, sorry.
I'm trying to be nice. I mean, I'm trying to be nice, but yeah, pretty much. You look at Liverpool, we're lacking a central midfielder and another attacker. So there's not one team that's complete in the league, but dare I say it, Man United maybe have one of the, if not the most complete squad. So adding Cristiano Ronaldo to the mix, I think they are genuine title challengers now.
I think when you look at any sides, if you put Cristiano Ronaldo into that team, it's just an instant. It's not like a level above. It's just the next. And people doubt the fact that he'll score goals. Like he left Man United, went to Real Madrid. I think it was way back in 2008 kind of period. And people doubted, is he going to be able to, translate that into what was at the time the most expectant club on the planet, and arguably still is today. Yeah. He then leaves there after many years and several Champions Leagues, goes to Serie A, a completely different style league. Again, doubt, saying, is he going to be able to score in Serie A? Oh, hang on, it's Cristiano Ronaldo. He's gone there and scored again. He leaves there and goes back to what is now by far the most dominant league in the continent. Is he going to be able to score? He pops up with 2 on his debut. He goes into the Champions League. He's already got 1 against young boys as well. So it's just a case of you can't doubt the impact that Cristiano Ronaldo is going to have on any side that he plays for. And I mean, if you're a fantasy football player, he's going straight in your team. I mean, you'd have to be very doubtful of someone not to put him in there. I mean, I personally didn't make him captain, which I now regret doing, but he was in there at least. But yeah, he has to turn them into title contenders, and you have to consider United, especially. We've not even spoken about the fact they've got Rafa Varane, they've got Jadon Sancho. They're improving all the time. Pogba looks like he's going to stay. If you're a United fan, which none of us are, and maybe that's why we're not having as many smiles on our faces right now, is you can't underestimate the squad that they've got now. So yeah.
It's Cristiano Ronaldo we're talking about, one of the greatest footballers of all time. Not the greatest, Messi's up there, but that's a conversation for another day. But what Ronaldo can do off the pitch as well is very underrated. You got the likes of Mason Greenwood, you got Sancho in that squad, you got other youngsters in that squad, and there's going to be lots of ups and downs in the football season. No team, unless you're Man City, who might go on a crazy run, or Liverpool, teams tend to have their ups and downs in the season. And in the down moments, now when you look at Man United's squad, you got the player, you got Ronaldo in your squad to make sure no one's heads go down. And I think that's a very underrated aspect of Ronaldo. Everyone talks about what he's going to do on the pitch, but off the pitch, I think he's going to be massive for them. I think it's going to be a character where they've got Harry Maguire, they've got Paul Pogba, but Ronaldo is just his leadership skills and what he's done in his career, what he's done at United, the respect that he's got. Imagine being about 20 years old and playing with Cristiano Ronaldo. The respect that he's got is on a different level, and I feel like it's going to be massive for them if they use it properly, and I think they will do. So Ronaldo, 36 years old, I think towards the end of the season, it'll be interesting to see whether his performances dip, because there's going to be lots of games this season, and also aging is another thing. But he's always going to have an influence, even if he isn't playing.
Massive addition to Manchester United's team for sure. And it kind of contrasts with, as we talked about, Sancho and Varane coming into a side in the title race, arguably, that's not done as much business this summer and maybe is being overlooked. And that, of course, is Liverpool. And there's only one place we can start. D, tell us about your thoughts regarding Liverpool being overestimated or underestimated in the title race.
Liverpool, in terms of, they've got Klopp there as a manager who knows how the Premier League goes and loves a bit of excuses as well, Callum. You got arguably one of the best players in the Premier League. Forget about best defender in Virgil van Dijk, who's coming back. So I think Liverpool are going to be up there, and I feel like people are underestimating them due to what happened with Chelsea winning the Champions League, Ronaldo coming back. You got City, who won the league as well. So they're the three teams that everyone's focusing on. But I feel like this is going to be key for Liverpool because the pressure isn't on them as much. This COVID season, I feel like in a way did help them because City just ran away with it and Liverpool had time to reassess. The only thing with Liverpool, maybe Callum, you know better than me, is their squad. In terms of, I saw things with Jordan Henderson, whether they're going to re-sign him on a new contract. Also, you got Salah, Mane, who ain't the youngest players. You got a bit of an aging squad. I think they're in their prime, but you're going to have decisions to make, and whether that impacts the players' performances halfway through the season. If you're talking about contracts, I'm not too sure. But I feel like Liverpool this season have been set up in such a way that even their fans must be smiling because I don't think there's any pressure on them, to be fair.
So it's a tough one. So first and foremost, obviously, got to kiss the bird. I will come back to that Klopp excuses comment, D. I love you, bro, but we'll address that as well. All seriousness, though, I do think the reason why we're sort of being underestimated is because of the squad depth. I think if you look at our starting 11, I think arguably we have the best starting 11 in the league, player for player. However, when you go beyond, I'm more than happy to debate it. Maybe I'm a little bit biased. I mean, maybe the shirt tells it, but I think you look.
I think you are very biased.
I mean, if you look beyond the 11, though, that's where it starts to get a bit more difficult. And we've all seen last season. Last season, you could look at it in two ways. Last season, we lost half of our squad pretty much, but we still managed to finish third. But at the same time, that's because you look at teams like Leicester and Chelsea, who didn't necessarily capitalize on the position and the chance they had to completely get us out of the top four. Now, that being said, I think Liverpool thrive without any pressure. So the season where we actually won the league, everyone expected Man City to win that season because we didn't sign any players apart from Harvey Elliott, Adrian and Sepp Vandenberg, who none of those were starters. So this has this reminds me a little bit of that. The only difference is going into this season, instead of Man City being the only strong team to compete with us, you've now got Chelsea and Manchester United. So I do think it's going to be a very, very tough season. I actually think we'll finish second this season. I still think City will win the league. But I think if we had added maybe a couple more players, then I think people would be talking about us as being the favourites. And I think we'd go on and win it.
See, that's what Klopp says normally. That's what Klopp says normally. He underplays the squad. Just like, we've got a bit of injuries. We haven't got enough depth in. It's raining. It's a Saturday, early Saturday. I couldn't get out of bed. That's what he normally says. That's what I'm talking about, Callum. You got the same mentality.
He didn't make any excuses at the 7-0 win against Palace at Selhurst Park.
Here we go.
I had to get something in.
We'll see what happens over the weekend.
Yeah, do you know what? You're right, actually. I'm not going to say too much too soon because you could actually do us at the weekend potentially.
I wonder what Klopp was thinking when Suarez was crying at Selhurst Park in that 3-3 draw as well with Steven Gerrard.
I'm not going to jump in to mediate. I'm going to have to mediate this because if I don't jump in, there's going to be some dangerous words being spoken. So let's jump in here. Arsenal, of course, I know we've got to talk about. So Callum, hit us with the question.
Yes. So I've got to come straight to you on this one. Where do you think Arsenal will finish this season? But also, do you think Mikel Arteta should actually be given time? Should he get the whole season? Should he get half the season? What's your thinking about this season for Arsenal?
I mean, Arsenal's target has got to be top 6. That's the minimum. They've got to get back into Europe. I mean, thinking about top 4 at this point is a pipe dream. It's the absolute kind of end goal for Arsenal right now in the next half to full decades. It's just getting back into that top 4 as an established, stable side again, which when you consider how much of a gap there is between Arsenal and yourselves, Chelsea, United and City, it's incredibly big. And to close that gap is going to take an incredible amount of investment and really improved coaching and the development of our young players, of which we've got plenty of right now. So to do that in a year and expect that from Arteta isn't realistic. It's just not something you can really see him doing. So you look at what's happened already this season, and let's be real, the first 3 games were diabolical, really poor against Brentford. You can expect not to get points against Chelsea and City as an Arsenal fan, but the way in which we lost those games was worse than the fact that we lost them in the pure fact of the result. So that going into the Norwich game led to confidence being pretty much on the floor. And when we scraped that 1-0 win, it wasn't exactly the turnaround that we wanted to see in form, but it was kind of probably the most you can expect from an Arsenal side that are quite wounded in more than one sense of the word. So I expect a top 6 kind of challenge, but in regards to Mikel Arteta's kind of position at the club, for me, I would have got rid of him after the Villarreal elimination, to be honest. And if you're out of Europe, you finish 8th 2 times in a row. What other club the size of Arsenal? I mean, not even to say something as pompous as the size of Arsenal. What club in the Premier League, if their expectations are at a certain level and they finish in back-to-back positions far below that expected level, what team keeps the coach? And that's kind of the big crux for me. And that's why I think that if we say lost against Burnley, lose against Spurs in the North London derby, there should be no reason to really keep him on beyond that for me.
I think for me, it goes down to how long Mikel Arteta stays at the job. If he's there for the full season, Tom, I don't think top 10 is going to be a struggle for you guys. I really do. And I really do think that. And you might be saying,
look at the confidence after beating Spurs. And he's like,
no, it's not about the confidence over Spurs. I'm just saying, like, the atmosphere just going into the season. And also, there's always problems regarding management and the ownership and stuff. But some of the transfers that you got some quality players, don't get me wrong. But are those players actually going to push you onwards for a top 6 finish? I'm not too sure. I feel like they're good squad players, but the fact that you spent 120 million and
150 million.
150.
Yeah, Tomiyasu turned out to 150. Yeah.
Oh, geez, that's even. Well, he looks like a quality player, but apart from that, is Ben White worth 50
million? Do you not rate
White?
Do you not think White's a good player?
I rate him. He's just the problem with White, in my opinion, is you've brought him in to be a leader of a defense that has no leaders. So he's now having to be the senior defender when really and truly he's still honing his craft. I think that's the issue.
No, I think it's a good point. I think you look at that back line, you got Tierney 24, Gabriel 23, White 23, Tomiyasu 22, and now Ramsdale's coming into the lineup at 23 as well. It's incredibly young. And you look at who are the experienced figures in that Arsenal side. You got Aubameyang, who's 32. Yeah. He starts. Xhaka, who's 29. Does he start now? The 21-year-old Lokonga looks a real player. I don't think he starts. Partey, good example of a leader in the midfield there. But beyond that, you got Lacazette, who doesn't play because we only play with one striker, and you're struggling to find experienced figures besides the likes of El Neni and Cedric. So the balance of that team is off right now. And I take your point. I think the problem is, D, with the Ben White side of things, I think you've got a guy with loads of potential there. And he does exactly what Arteta wants to do with the ability to play out from the back. Tomiyasu was showed in that game against Norwich. I think he's going to fit in really well in that back line. But I think that we had to spend that money where we spent it because of the poor mistakes of recruitment of the last 10 years meant that we were starting 150 million behind where we need to be in 2021. So we had to spend that now. If we didn't, we would have even been further behind in 2022.
I think realistically, I don't know about you, Callum, but I'm going with I think it's going to be a long season, especially if Arteta stays.
You were going to say a number then, and you.
No. I'm going to say 10th. I'm going to say 10th. I'm going for it. I'm going for 10th. And this might bite me back, but I just feel like, as you said, you have got some quality young players, but it's just, I don't have faith in Arteta. And I feel like...
arranging my relegation favourites.
Well, who's a better manager? I mean, you talk about relegation.
It's not about that. It's not about that. I think Vieira at the end of the day is a good coach. I think you've made some really good signings. I think Vieira's, whilst has got really good kind of coaching abilities, it's that experience, the same as Arteta. In the long run, is that going to let him down in the real tough moments?
Maybe. I mean, I've got Arsenal. Sorry to do this, Tom. I've got Arsenal to finish 8th. I don't
better than me.
I know. I don't.
Oh yes.
I don't see how you break into the top 6 as things stand. I look at teams like...
Who's your top 6 out of interest?
The top 6, I think the same top 4.
The big 4.
Yeah. I think you're going to hate me for saying this. I think Tottenham get in. And...
Did you watch the game at the weekend?
That's debatable. I can't beat you there, Callum.
I think they might do. I think they finish 6th. But I also think one of West Ham or Everton or Leeds or Villa will finish above you as well. Well, I think they'll all finish above you as well.
Leicester, you've not mentioned.
Leicester, sorry, Leicester's the 5th. Leicester's 5th, yeah. Sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's a real tough time. And I think, obviously, Arsenal's opening of the season, you look at those 3 games and then the Norwich game. It's been Chelsea and City. I don't feel like we would get top 6 with Arteta. I think it would take a turnaround of manager for us to really push towards top 6. And it would take someone at the level of a Conte to come in. But that's not going to happen.
Unfortunately not.
So now going into the next question, let's talk about, instead of the top 6, the bottom 3. Now that we've seen the 4 games that's being played and we've seen a couple teams in action, who do you guys think are going to be relegated?
Crystal Palace.
Seriously, no, because some people do think that they do think Palace are going to get relegated.
No, I don't think Palace will go down. I'll be honest, I've got a little soft spot for Palace. Not this weekend. I hope we absolutely bat you this weekend, but I've got a little soft spot because I grew up around Crystal Palace. My next door neighbour's a Palace fan, so I can't escape Crystal Palace.
Why aren't you a Palace fan then, Callum?
Because the calling of the bird was too loud. The calling of the bird was too loud. I think Burnley will go down. Maybe I'm hoping a little bit as well with this one, but I think Burnley will go down. Norwich, and I think Watford. I think Burnley's time is going to come to an end in the league because I don't think they've evolved as a team or as a club. I think barring Dwight McNeil, obviously they brought in Cornet as well, but I don't see any real technicians in that team. And I think there's only so many games you can bully your way through before teams will just find that if you just play football through them, that you'll be fine. I think Norwich is the same as when they came up the last time. Just defensively, I think they're very, very, very incompetent defensively, for lack of a better word. And then Watford, again, I look at their team, I look at their squad, and I see a lot of holes there, and I think they can really be exploited. Plus, the managerial merry-go-round at Watford is like nothing I've ever seen before. So who knows? They'll maybe have another 3 managers before the end of the season as well.
Yeah, it's really tough to kind of pinpoint that, because I remember about 5 years ago, we used to look at the bottom half of the Premier League as really closing the gap between itself and not necessarily the bottom 3, but I think that the top 15 teams at least were all kind of in and around each other going towards that top half of the table. And now over the last couple of years, the gap between, say, the top 6, and I won't include Arsenal in this, and like the rest have opened up such a wide gap between themselves and the rest of the Premier League, where that old phrase of there's no easy game in the Premier League, but there genuinely is a lot more easy games for clubs like Liverpool, City, United and Chelsea right now, because the difference in quality is just so big. But I think when you look at those teams down the bottom, you look at teams like Burnley that have failed to pick up a win so far already in the first 4 games. I do think they're going to struggle. Every single season, it's like Sean Dyche is able to get something out of that side despite barely any investment in the window. And they brought in Maxwell Cornet this summer from Lyon as a really intriguing signing, but he hasn't been used yet. I know he's only trained a couple of days, but he's not a Sean Dyche player, is he? Like, he's not someone he's played for Lyon in the Champions League in a really kind of technical side.
I think he's not going to turn him dirty there, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I think his agent's done him dirty.
I don't really understand that kind of level of move at this point in time. And if you are going to do that, you wouldn't do it under Dyche. You'd probably change the coach and go for someone more different. But I think Dyche is the best thing to happen to Burnley, so you wouldn't get rid of him. So I feel like they'll be one of my favourites to go down, along with, I think Norwich will be probably not good enough to stay up. And then the other one's Southampton. Southampton are a weird one because I just don't know where the goals are going to be necessarily coming from after Danny Ings has gone. And whilst I like Hasenhüttl, I'm just not sure if he's got the squads and the inspiration to keep them up this season. I think their days may be numbered.
Yeah, I think Southampton's a good shout. But for me, Norwich and Watford, I'm pretty solid with my picks there. But it's just the last one. Newcastle, they've got the squads, but we already know how it goes with Newcastle. It is very, very toxic there at times regarding Steve Bruce. I think they'll be in the battle. Burnley will be in the battle. And Southampton, Tom, that is a very good shout because they've been struggling for a while now. I haven't really seen Southampton. They started the last season off very well, but then ever since that, in the second half of the season and even to the start of this season, they haven't been that great. But if I had to pick one team, I'll probably join you guys with Norwich. Watford is there, but I'll probably pick Burnley as well because saw it yesterday as well against Everton. 1-0 up, but ever since April, they've struggled to hold on to leads, and that is going to be very costly for them this season. So I think Burnley, with the squad they got, they could go down.
So regarding relegation, often leads, of course, to kind of managerial merry-go-round. So we kind of want your first pick of who is going to get the big sack. And the rule of this game is you can't pick Arteta. So Callum, go first, mate.
Oh, I'm gonna go Steve Bruce. I think.
Ooh.
Yeah, and the reason I say that, I don't think Newcastle will go down, but I don't know if they'll progress up the table as much as Newcastle fans want them to. And they just don't play very good football. Take Saint Maximum out of the team, and who really is there to really...
Joe Willock. You remember Joe Willock?
No, but
I mean,
£25 million we got for him.
he's out injured us.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, he's already gone. Yeah, typical Arsenal player. That's what they do. They send you players and they're out injured straight away.
Exactly. But I think there's always been sort of an undertone brewing there at Newcastle with Bruce coming in. He replaced Rafa Benitez, which most of the fans were really unhappy with. I just think it's Bruce. I think even though Burnley, in my opinion, will go down, I don't think they sack Sean Dyche. As you said, he's the best thing to happen to them. Hassan Hutel, again, I think is a project there at Southampton, even if they don't finish in the top half of the league. I mean, Watford are always a shout for sacking a manager, but I'm going to go Steve Bruce.
I'll go with... I don't think with Steve Bruce, don't you think they would have maybe sacked him already if they were going? I just don't see it really happening with Mike Ashley.
It
seemed like he's happy. He seemed like he's happy with Steve Bruce because
he can be today, and then tomorrow he might not be though.
But we look at Watford. You look at Watford and their managers. They love changing managers. So my pick is Cisco. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Cisco from Watford. I feel like they started the season off well against Villa, but saw it on a weekend against Wolves. They struggled, and we faced them as well in pre-season and in the cup game as well. I don't think they're that good. And knowing how Watford move with managers, they really don't want to get relegated. So if they're in a sticky situation early on, I can see them easily getting rid of their manager and bringing in someone else, because that's what they do.
Yeah, I think Watford's probably the big shout if you're going to be looking to kind of in that area of odds. But I think when it comes down to Southampton, again, they're a club that do, as Watford do, like to change coaches. They're not afraid to. I think they understand the danger of them dropping out the Premier League and the difficulty of them getting back up to the Premier League again. So if they look like there could be any chance of them going down, I think Hassan Hutel is very much going to be under threat. And with the start to the season that they've had, failing to pick up a single win, I think so far, they are, I think, could be looking to move on with the coaches.
So guys, that is an episode in the history books. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Some great talking topics there. Now all we need you guys to do is leave your comments below with some of your thoughts and your opinions. I'm going to head over to the great panel that we've got with us today. So Tom, if you start off and tell the people where they can find you and support you on social media, please, mate.
Yeah, you can find us at the Gooner Talk TV, producing daily Arsenal content. And thanks, Callum and Dee. Absolute pleasure to join you once again. I look forward to doing it again.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
And Dee, yourself, where can the people find you and support you?
Well, Back of the Nest, Crystal Palace fan channel. We do lots of content. So yeah, you can find us there on YouTube, on podcasts as well, usual podcast platforms. We'll talk about the game, preview games. So yeah, it was an enjoyable chat. Good chatting to Arsenal fans. It's always a pleasure when we got the better manager. So and also Callum as well before the big game. So yeah, it was good. I enjoyed this. Thank you.
Indeed. And my name is Callum from Team Kopish. You can find us over on YouTube, and we chop up loads of Liverpool content and much, much more. It's been an absolute delight speaking to Tom, absolute delight speaking to Dee. Dee and I will remain friends until Saturday, stop being friends and then become friends again on Sunday. But that's the way it goes. But as I said before, people, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, we'll see you soon.